This is Emil Fisher with another episode of my yet-to-be-named video cast. We're going to be naming it tomorrow, so I'm very excited. I have with me today...
This is so easy. Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Jew, the Jiu-Jitsu Hour. How many other fucking Jewish dudes are out there doing podcasts?
That's actually a good question. I would imagine there's got to be at least one other. I don't know.
Well, you're the only one.
So my whole thing, honestly, Seth, is that I think that I don't necessarily want to pigeonhole myself into jiu-jitsu. Like on Sunday, I had one of the guys that plays guitar for TSO.
Yeah.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra, the Christmas show. I had one of those guys on. And, like, he doesn't do jiu-jitsu, and I had a keyboardist on the same thing, doesn't do jiu-jitsu. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying. So
I just think you need to represent our culture, and the Mazel Tov minute, the you got to go that way. I unfortunately don't know too many Jewish words. Maybe like the Hebrew hour, just you need to represent, Emil. Like, I'm expecting this.
Okay. Hey, I put it up for a vote. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to go off of whatever everybody else wants, So I guess that's how it's going to be for now.
I'm into it.
I'm thinking that it's going to be, I'm thinking that it's going to be the Jiu-Jitsu podcast that wins. Like that's my prediction. For some reason, the computer that I'm on is not letting me. Oh, there we go. So anyways, for those who don't know, I've got Seth Daniels on this podcast today. Seth Daniels is the promoter and head honcho of an organization called Fight2Win, which in jiu-jitsu is kind of the organization. They are really, they're putting on the best shows in the sport. So Seth, I know you've talked about this on other podcasts, other things that you've done. Talk to me a little bit about what's going on for you guys with the coronavirus.
Pretty much right now we're playing the waiting game. I have prepared three scenarios on how I can keep in business with the current state of the economy. So I'm working with Flow and Mo, and we're putting together some ideas on how we're gonna get through this and keep events going. And I don't really want to talk too in depth about it because some of the shit I came up with is next level, and some of it is more of like a vision versus a reality. And so I'm still doing research to find out what it's going to take to make my visions become like actually what we're going to do. So I'm in the process right now of doing a lot of research and cost stuff, trying to get everything that I want done in America versus China, So, there's a lot of ways that we can make everything get not back to normal. There's no going back to how things were until the vaccine comes out, So, if I just wait around 2 more months and do nothing, I'm just going to go out of business, So me and Missy and the team, the Flow team, we've been racking our brains, just going back and forth with ideas and strategies and what we're going to do to keep things going,
Yeah. So now, one thing you just mentioned that I thought was kind of cool was you're talking about keeping things in America.
Yeah.
Now, I know that at the end of last year, you guys had an ill-fated plan to do a show in England. I don't know if you've talked about that at all anywhere. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that with me?
Why we didn't do it?
Yeah.
I didn't do the show in Europe because ADCC took too much out of me. And after ADCC, I was so burned out. I didn't want to do anything. And I was so far behind on just the shows in America. I just it was like, how like the fighters, like, they said for Nogi Worlds, like the fighters got fighter burnout, And it's like, that's why they say that, you know, very few people competed at Nogi Worlds. I think it had more to do with the steroid testing, but, you know, I was just too burnt out, man, to create a whole new culture and do all that stuff. I was just like, fuck it, I don't want to do it, you know? And
Yeah.
I'm at the point now, like when we first started, it was just like we were chasing numbers, you know? So it was like, when I first started, I was like, I got to get more than 10 events because Eddie Bravo had only done 9. So it was like 10. And then I was like, all right, I got to get to 20. Then it was 50. Then it was 100. After you hit 100, it's just kind of like, who cares how many you do, right? So it's just about like getting quality over quantity at this point. And I didn't feel like I could put in the effort to provide a quality event because I didn't care enough.
It's fair. Do you think you're going to revisit that in the future if, you know, all those stars align, or you think you're going to focus more on keeping things domestic?
I mean,
I know there's a lot of factors. I understand that, but
I mean, right now it's like even thinking of traveling is out. So, you know, the options and stuff I have in play are not going to include us touring anytime soon. So
you're going to be bringing the athletes to you.
Yeah. You know, I own a couple of warehouses and there's some options we can do in order to use our facility. I can't give away too much information.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Anytime I ever do anything, people rip my shit off. And I need to make sure that before people steal my ideas and start doing them themselves, that I perfect it first and make sure, because like I'm the only one with enough insurance that if I go out there, do a show, somebody gets a coronavirus and they sue me, I can be covered, you know? So it's like, I got to make sure that I figure out the testing procedures, the, you know, all that stuff, how long I need to bring guys in and quarantine them before they can compete. And after they compete, there's a lot going into it. And there's no going back to business as normal. Even when the vaccine comes out, there's just not. So more costs have to be made, more precautions have to be made. And no, regardless if you don't believe in the, you know, the lockdown, which I'm not a huge, I agree and disagree with everything. You know, it's one of those weird things where it's like, in my opinion, we shouldn't have closed anything and people should have had the choice whether to go out or stay home. You know, because it is fucking America and we're supposed to be able to make our choices like that. But I understand why they did it. And, you know, I'm not sitting around upset yelling at my computer all day about the situation I'm in. So, you know, I have some strategies and some ideas, but I got to make sure that I do everything right, that it's done by the government guidelines, that I keep people safe, and that I can still deliver a solid product, you know? And so I've got to run a lot of this stuff through and test it like before I even do an event. Like I've got to like, there's just a lot of shit, man. There's just a lot of new steps and precautions that are going to have to be made.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because you have a tendency of being very, you know, very brash, very real with everybody and with everything. And I feel like in this time, that sort of attitude is going to prevail. That sort of thing is going to really, it's going to help.
Yeah, no, I mean, any business that comes back out of this and goes into it with the business as usual idea is going to fail. Like you have to have sensitivity towards the situation and you have to operate with concern. You can't just be like, oh, fuck it, we're selling t-shirts. Fuck it, we're doing this, we're doing that. Like, you got millions of people are unemployed right now, right? Which is actually paying better than probably most of their jobs were. But, you know, for a lot of people, for me, for instance, you know, unemployment won't even cover 20% of what our monthly bills are with Fight2Win. You know, we in order to operate just to keep the lights on is $20,000 a month. So I'm just bleeding out right now. But like I said, like when we go back out, you have to operate with sensitivity. And I mean, I'm not obviously the most sensitive human being in the world, but I can appreciate other people's concerns and, you know, you can't just be one way or the other. You have to see the middle ground of the situation, because the scariest thing for me is if I do an event, I get a guy that's asymptomatic, get somebody sick, they go and see their parent, their grandparent, and that person gets sick and dies, and it wouldn't happen if I wouldn't have done the event. So like we're literally going to have to quarantine people 7 days before the event, 7 days after the event. Like we're going to have to do this kind of shit. And I know it's crazy. It doesn't even sound like it's a doable thing, but that's what UFC is doing. That's what WWE is doing. Those guys are not leaving the compound, And so we're looking at different places and different options to where we can pretty much create a compound and bring the people in and, keep them there for a week before and a week after the show, and then, go to the next one. So, everything's going to change, and, but the ideas I have, if I can pull off one of the three, if I can pull off two of the three, it's like legendary shit status. If I can pull off all three of them, it's like God status. If I can pull off one of them, I can stay in business. So, like right now the focus is staying in business and keeping people safe and still being able to provide the platform, And then as soon as the vaccine comes out, then it's back, once we can put 500 people in a room, it's back to being on the road. I don't see that happening until, like I said, vaccine or 2022, so it's probably around, what we're looking at.
We got a question from Dan Silvert here. He's asking, hey fellas, you think the UFC is the only MMA/BJJ promotion that will have the scale to do stuff like the May 9th Ferguson Gaethje fight with Chael Sonnen's Portland, the Submission Underground? Is that going to be the last grappling/fighting event we see for a while?
No, I'm going to be back in May or June. We're going to have events. It's just a matter of how I do the events, which is I'm not releasing how I'm going to do them or where they're going to be yet, because the difference between UFC, WWE, I can't really include SUG in this conversation because the event's trash, bro. So it's like anybody can scale something down and shoot garbage. Like you could have 4 people come to your house and you could stream you competing with your friends, or 8 people, you know what I mean? Do an 8-man tournament at your house. I'm not doing that shit. When I come back, it's going to look like Fight to Win. It's going to be Fight to Win. I'm going more towards the WWE mentality of what they're doing. And if you're not watching, if you're an event promoter and you're not watching what WWE is doing right now, you're a fucking moron, because they're literally giving you the template. This is the only way to do events. And I'm the only one with a big enough contract with Flow to be able to pull this off. And that's why UFC can do it, because they've got ESPN, and WWE can do it, because they're backed by Viacom and Paramount and all that, USA Network and all that. So this is kind of one of the situations where those that prepared and did the work to get there and earn their money are going to be able to survive through it, and the other ones aren't. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't really care about anyone else. So
Sure.
When it comes down to it, I know the product that we put out there, and I know business. So we'll be able to make it work as long as Flow goes in with me on this idea, or they fucking let me go and I do it on my own. But regardless, I'm not going to sit around and just let my bank account get, dried out and collect unemployment. It's not me. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to fight to keep this thing going until my last fucking breath.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned Flow Grappling and your relationship with Flow Grappling as being fairly critical to these sorts of operations. Do you think that during this time, now that there aren't no events that are being streamed on Flow, do you think that they might take a hit from all of this?
Flow, they're
Yeah.
getting crushed right now.
They're getting what?
They're getting crushed right now.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, the whole company's completely fucked. So, you know, they haven't let anybody off, and they didn't get any loans. I think that's important for people to know. Okay, so when you complain about not having live events and only being able to look at archives, or you don't like podcasts or whatever the fuck you want to complain about them, how many of you out there have jobs or know people that have jobs that have been laid off, and they have not laid off anyone? They have not gotten the PPP loans. No one's collecting unemployment. They're paying everybody, and they want to keep that going. And that's a big fucking company. There's a lot of people that work there at the headquarters, and so I mean that's what your dues is paying for right now. It's paying to keep 100 people employed and keep pushing out content. And I'm talking daily. We're having conference calls, and daily they're having meetings, and we have Zoom conferences, and all these ideas are getting thrown around, and everybody's working together to make something happen. I'm talking about wrestling, gymnastics, flow band, flow track, flow grappling. Like all of us are trying and throwing out ideas, all the partners, on how we can all survive, and luckily they have me, and I have some really fucking good ideas. And I think that we're going to be able to make something work, but I should know by next week.
Yeah. Now, should Flow Grappling go out of business? That's a possibility we have to kind of realize, because if this goes on for another couple months, a lot of people are probably going to wind up canceling their Flow memberships, regardless of what you or I think about that.
Right.
If they go under, how do you think that will affect the landscape of jiu-jitsu?
They won't go under.
Okay.
It's not worst case scenario is they have to lay off some people and operate with a smaller staff, but they're backed pretty well financially, and like I said, they have a lot of really good partners, and a lot of us, I mean, I've had my words with a lot of the other promoters, but when you got guys like Mo Jassim calling in to chip in free advice on things to do and ideas, I mean, the guy's fucking genius. He's brilliant, And so it's like when you got guys like that are your partners, and like guys like the Kasai guy, who's like a financial fucking god, like he knows so much shit, and like he wants things to keep going, and I want to keep things. I mean, I'm not on those guys' level when it comes to business or finance or anything like that. I'm an idea person, I make, fucking diamonds out of dog shit. So, we'll survive, and we'll figure it out and figure out what to do. I can't see, I just don't see it happening, honestly.
Okay. That's fair. Now,
but they have to change, but we have to change, but we have to change. That's the thing. If we try to do the business the way the business has been, we're going to go out of business. We all are. Every business in America is going to go out of business. Like, you have to adapt to the current environment. You have to, and those that are willing to adapt are going to survive. So, and they will. They just, they need to wake the fuck up, because we got to get going.
Now, kind of shifting gears from this business talk, because I'm sure that some people watching this are being made anxious by it. You've been in the promotion game. You've done, just with Fight2Win, 130, 140 events thus far?
140 jiu-jitsu events, maybe 100 MMA shows, and 100 tournaments, maybe.
Okay. So, and then you just ran the ADCC, which was...
Oh, I didn't run the ADCC. Mo ran the ADCC.
You ran the production of the ADCC.
Yeah, I ran the production. There's a major difference. I got a lot of credit for a lot of shit I didn't do.
Fair enough.
Well, it's like when it came to like the, ADCC is it's such a massive project, and people don't even understand the scale that goes into it. From Raj booking all the travel, you're talking 120 fighters from all over the world, and Mo booking all the fights and fighters, and then having to deal with them pulling out and replacing them and all that stuff, man. I had probably one of the easiest jobs, I just had to make it look dope, and then I wound up having to do a bunch of other shit I didn't want to do. But the, that event was run by Mo. I just produced, I just made it look cool.
So the reason I bring that up is, one common argument, and I kind of feel like you're a person that you've seen enough that you have some insights to this. Gi players that do no gi versus people that focus entirely on no gi. What do you think?
In regards to what, though? So for ADCC?
ADCC, or even in general, just grappling. I know on your shows you have plenty of no gi matches that are between people that primarily train in the gi or both gi and no gi, and guys that just do no gi. What do you see? To me, it's all the same.
I think it's all the same. All of the moves I do, I mean, for me personally, crossover gi or no gi. I'm not huge at heel hooks, even though my school is, even though you heel hooked one of our best guys. And I'm not super big into attacking heels. But everything else about my game is the exact same for gi or no gi. I think people should just train whatever they want. I don't think it really matters. I mean, if you've got pins coming up, you should be training mostly in the gi. If you got a gi match coming up, you should train mostly in the gi probably, But I mean, like my week when I'm training and at home, like if I'm home for a week, it's totally mixed. It's, 3 days of no gi, 3 days of gi, But I like both of them. I just think you should do what you like. I mean, the most important thing is to get in the room and get your work in, But I mean, like if you're looking at like ADCC, I mean, if you watch ADCC, fuck jiu-jitsu, you got to learn how to wrestle. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even fucking matter. Look at Nicky Rod, dude. He fucking makes it to the finals. Dude's a blue belt, and I know he's a freak of nature, and he's probably the best athlete we may have ever had in jiu-jitsu, but like his submission skill is not there. It's not there to be second best in the world, but he overcompensated with athleticism and wrestling. And when it comes to ADCC, those are the two things you need most, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
Especially the athleticism part. Because a lot of those matches go 0-0. They turn into 15-minute matches. Like, look at Gary Tonin and Hanato Canuto. It was 15 minutes of a fucking sprint. If I was in that match, I would have just given up after the first minute. I'd have been like, fuck it.
What do you think was a better match? Canuto versus Tonin or Tonin versus Ramos?
Canuto versus Tonin.
Yeah, Canuto versus Tonin was a fucking barn burner.
It was the best match I've ever seen. I'm not a huge Hanato Canuto fan. His style is exciting though, and anybody you put Gary with Gary's the most exciting grappler in the world. So you throw him with anybody, you're going to get fireworks. But you throw him with the greatest, the second most exciting grappler in the world. I was bummed it happened where it happened in the bracket, to be honest with you. But it'll be different next year. So, Gary comes in as the 3 seed for the tournament, and who's the 4 seed? And Dante's the 4 seed. So Hanato comes in at the 5th seed, I want to say. So him and Gary will be on opposite sides of the bracket. So you'll probably end up seeing JT Torres versus Hanato Canuto in the semifinals.
So we got a question from one of my favorite people from your neck of the woods, Jeremy Hastings. He says, who do you think is the more Jewish between the two of you?
Based on the DNA test, I am. Right? Because I get 100%. Right?
I definitely am not 100%.
Yeah. So if we're going on DNA test, it's me. If it's anything else, it's a mill.
Probably, yeah.
Like 1,000%. Like I was not raised Jewish. Just my nose. And you know, my ethnicity, that's what it is. But my dad was like hardcore atheist. So yeah. So, you know, I think Jews either go that route. They're either like super Jew or they become atheists. It's like there's not really much in between, you know.
Well, it's funny because actually I had somebody on my on this on Tuesday, Haim Ghazali. He's been on at least one of your shows.
I love Haim, dude. He's awesome. He's a great dude. His fucking kid's awesome too. His kid fought for me when he was 15, and Haim has fought for me 3 times, I think. He fought for me in New York, Philly, and Dallas, I think. I might be wrong, but he might have only fought twice. But yeah, great guy. Super cool.
Yeah. Now, Haim, I mean, I know that he's got a very strong Jewish identity, but the guy's got tattoos from like head to toe. So, you know.
Well, all religion is it changes over time, you know?
For sure.
Like if you really believe in the religion, and it's like, maybe if you're Hasidic and it's like, if I get a tattoo, you know, I'm going to hell. But at the same time, that also means that you believe that everyone that survived the Holocaust or went to the Holocaust is in hell, because all of them were tattooed. So, right. You know, it's just kind of a matter of your belief structure, you know, and I'm not really big into, I think people believe whatever the fuck they want. You know, I'm not really into religion, but you know, I think, you know, if you just believe whatever you want and go with whatever you want, you know, if you're Jewish, you believe that tattoos don't prevent you from, you know, whatever the afterlife, then who cares? You know what I mean?
The reason I bring that up is just to the point that you can have a very strong identity, but not necessarily believe in all the tenets of the religion. Like I'm pretty much agnostic or atheist, but I feel like culturally, and like I celebrate the holidays with my family and stuff like that just for the tradition, but I don't necessarily know that there is or isn't a God. Like I'm just not one of those people. Right. And therefore,
well, no one really knows. You don't really know until you die. So
exactly,
you know,
exactly.
And so, flatlining is just too dangerous. So, you know,
yeah. What are some matchups that if you were given an unlimited budget, right, and you know, so money wasn't a problem, and you had the powers of persuasion, you could convince anybody to come on your cards. What are like 4 matchups that you would put together that, you know, you wouldn't see otherwise?
I'd like to see BJ Penn in a match. So like maybe, what does BJ weigh, like 155?
Yeah.
I would just see
BJ 170.
Huh?
Probably walks at 170.
Yeah. I mean, anybody that BJ would fight. Like my thing is like, it's not really the matchups, it's just like the people, you know. It's like, for me, like throwing Gary against anybody is amazing. I'd love to see like what does Marcelo Garcia weigh?
Marcelo Garcia probably walks at like 190 if I had to guess.
So like I'd like to see like Marcelo fight Gary Tonin. I'd like to see Gordon. I'd like to see Gordon fight. If I could have Gordon fight anyone, I'd have Gordon fight Hodger.
In the gi or no gi?
In the gi. I don't see. That's the thing, is like people that think Gordon can't fight in the gi are fucking retarded. He's the best in the world. Like, you think he can't fight with a gi on? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I think the best overall jiu-jitsu fighter in the world is Kynan. If you look at gi and no gi combined, you know. But outside of that, I mean, there's no one even close to Gordon. So what? You put a pajama on him and you think he loses all of his skill? Fucking idiots. I'd like to see. I think Henry Cejudo could put up something very interesting against maybe like one of the Miao brothers, or maybe even Tanquinho. That could be dope, you know. And then, you know, it'd be good to see JT versus Marcelo as well. That'd be awesome. I'm a big Marcelo Garcia fan, so like to me, like he's next level. And then if I could make somebody both in their primes, it would have been so dope to watch like Gary fight Eddie Bravo or something, or like Eddie Cummings versus Eddie Bravo. Like that would be insane. you know, stuff
I'd
like
like
that.
to see Gary versus Crone again.
Yeah, I know Mo's talk with Crone. I don't know really the status of that. Mo handles all the ADCC invites. You know, I usually get he says what do you think between these guys, and I say you should give it to him, and then he picks somebody else. So I think that's something in the future that might be possible.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that's one thing I always appreciate about your cards. You do put together some wild matchups. Like
Well,
when you have
the way I do them is different. I don't go out looking for a certain matchup. I go out looking for people. So if I get a list of 30 of the best top 200 grapplers in the world, and I look at the list and I see who's already fought and who hasn't fought, because I don't like doing rematches. So I'll look in that's why Gordon hasn't been on my show, is because I don't feel like there's anybody really that can challenge him in no-gi other than maybe Gaudio, but they've already fought, And then so you got Gaudio and then you got Kynan, and that's a match I'd love to see, But from the rumors I've heard is that when they trained together, it didn't go so well for Kynan. So it's kind of one of those things where it's depends on who's on what at the time of the match, and what their weight is, what their strength is at the time. But I'd love to see that matchup, But other than that, it's with Gordon, it's you got to be creative, Third Coast has done a good job being creative with him. The Bo Dickel thing, the match was kind of whack, but it was a good idea,
Yeah.
It was fuck it, who else is there? He's beating everybody, So sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to think outside the box, that Roberto Jimenez Lucas Barbosa match. I looked at the weights and they were pretty close, or 10 pounds apart. And I was looking at Roberto versus Hudson, or Roberto versus Ronaldo Jr. or Lucas. And Roberto's my homeboy. We've been friends since he was 9 years old, 10 years old. I've known him that long. And I was like, who do you want? And he was like, Lucas is the toughest matchup. And I was like, perfect. So a lot of times I don't even pick the matchups. The guys pick them, and at that level, when you're dealing with Roberto's, the, Ronaldo's, the Kynans, they want the toughest guys. They never take the easy way out, ever. Never. And most of them don't want rematches. So they do all the work for me.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. Now, one thing I it's funny because of the fact that I've competed as often as I have for you and one of the Fight to Win champs. I've had people ask me this question quite a bit, and I kind of give them a bland answer. But so when you come to an area and people throw their application at you, what are your criteria for accepting somebody to one of your shows?
Nowadays, I know everyone. So nowadays, it's I get, 500 people on there. I can highlight 60 people I want on the show because I know them. I know everyone. So it's I know all these guys. I know their ability. I know how good they are to work with. I know their ticket sales. I know everything about them. So it's all right, so these are the 60 guys I got to find matchups for. And then sometimes you get the guys you want, your number 4 guy on your roster and your number 7 guy on your roster. And you're like, cool, put this one together. But then you get to the point where it's someone like you, where it's who fights a mill, right? You've beaten pretty much every Masters brown belt of quality in the country. And so it's all right, well, you just got to get creative. And I look at past results and, I reach out, and I'll reach out to people and in other states that I think would be good matchups, like you and Bruce. I thought that would be a great matchup. You know what I mean? Yeah, styles were perfect. It lined up, You and Don Westman would have been a great matchup when he was a brown belt. There's a lot of them like that, But for the most part, if I don't know the people, I just look at their social media. I look them up on YouTube. I try to research stuff. I really hate guys that, fight on keep all their matches standing the whole time. If I'm watching video on someone and they have an IBJJF match and they go, it's a 7-minute match and they do 6 minutes and do a bullshit takedown attempt, I'm not into it, So I look for more active people in their matches, you know, like if I feel like they're going to be good in submission style or not, you know, because you can usually tell from somebody's IBJJF matches if they're actually going to be good for Fight to Win. You know, I can tell you, like, looking at a roster, like, this guy might be an 8-time world champion, but he's going to be boring as fuck because you won't get it, you know? So, you know, I mean, it's just like, I don't have to do that much research anymore, but there's a little bit of research that goes involved to it, you know?
Yeah. So if somebody wants to break
social media is a big decision maker for me on it, you know? But a lot of times, like for your school, for instance, Brasa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or what's the name of it though?
I trained at a place called Strong Style.
Strong Style, but it's Brasa school, right? Strong Style or whatever. Yeah. So the head coach is was it Pablo?
Yes. Good memory.
Okay. So Pablo, I'll hit him up and say I've got 15 guys from from his school from Brasa that apply. I'm going to ask him, of these guys, who are the guys I must have on the show? And he'll tell me. I just ask the head coach. I'm like, who are the most exciting guys on this roster? And they tell me, then I'll get them for them. Like that's also another way I do it too. You know, but if I look at people's social media and like I feel like they're dickheads, like I just won't even waste my time. That's part of it too.
So that's an interesting point that you bring up about people being dickheads on social media, people being dickheads. I know that you've had some people compete for you in the past that maybe don't have the best reputations.
You mean like AJ?
AJ, Erberth. I mean, there's a couple others I can't remember off the top of my head, but AJ and Erberth came to mind.
Yeah.
So like, I know that Erberth, both Missy and you have said in the past they're super easy to work with. How do you guys, I guess, determine who it is that you want to give that chance to? How do you determine who the assholes are you want to give the chance to?
You give everybody a chance, and then you treat them the way that they deserve to be treated. You give everybody starts at 100. You expect everybody to be awesome and everybody's cool. And then if they lose that and they fuck that up, then they lose that relationship. But like Erberth can be kind of annoying sometimes. Like he can be a little childish, but we all can, you know. But for the most part, he's pretty fucking cool. Me and AJ kind of have a tumultuous relationship. In person, me and AJ get along really well. I'm not a fan of the shit talking. Like I like the way you talk shit, like the funny, playful. It's respectful, but at the same time, it's like you're hyping stuff up and promoting. I like that. I don't like it's not necessary, in my opinion, like the way Gordon does it and the way Pat Downey, like it's just like fucking stupid. Like it's completely unnecessary in my opinion. But you know, it works for them and they're getting paid, so fuck it, whatever they want to do, you know. But you know, someone like AJ is like Missy and him are really good friends. And you know, so she goes out there and he treats her awesome. She trains when she goes to California, she trains at Nick Diaz Academy. And he's there and like looks out for her and they take care of her and stuff and she loves him. So like, yeah, we give him matches, but like you notice when he fights on my show, you don't see a lot of shit from him. There's not a lot of drama. There's not a lot of, because I don't want him to do it. Yeah. You know, when he fought Ben Henderson, I wanted that matchup. And Ben was like, nah, I don't want to do it. And I was like, why? I was like, it's a really good match. He was like, because I live a really positive life and I don't talk shit and I don't want to see shit talked about me. And I'm not into it. That's literally what Benson told me. And so I told AJ, I was like, all right, Ben will take the match with you, but you can't, I don't even want you to promote it. I was like, don't even say anything. So just train. Don't even make one post about the match. And I was like, because if you post anything about it, he's going to pull out because he doesn't want any negativity in his life. You know, I mean, so, I mean, it's just like he listens and he knows his role and, you know, he plays his role, whether it be villain or whatever, you know, he needs to be. But with me, I think that's one of the reasons he likes working with me so much is because I don't need him to do that stuff. I just need him to go out there and perform, you know?
Now, you mentioned how you don't like shit talk or like you want the shit talk to be done in a positive way or like a silly way. And I, I'm all about that. That's personally how I like to talk shit, just 'cause I think it's funny. And it's just jujitsu, so like I don't whatever. But on the same token, a lot of people see the example that's set by somebody like Gordon Ryan, and they see the way that he talks shit, they see the way that he treats his opponents beforehand, or the Conor McGregors of the world, and they want
Conor McGregor, first of all, Conor McGregor is a whole different world, right? So Conor McGregor. He's different. He's a completely different fucking human being, right?
Yeah.
And he did what he did, and it worked for him. Gordon Ryan has earned the right to talk as much shit as he wants. Everybody else, like, unless you have won the Black Belt World Championships or the ADCC World Championships, like, if you can't talk a bunch of shit, then go out there and back it up, like, then you shouldn't be talking at all. In my opinion, Gordon has the right to say whatever the fuck he wants. Any of these guys do that are, the best in the world. But it's just your personality. If you want, JT Torres could talk as much shit as he wants. He doesn't do it. He lives a different life. He's himself. And that's just Gordon's personality online, and that's just how he is, And a lot of people, don't like it. And if you met Gordon in real life, you would be really confused. You would be, because you're like, this guy is so respectful and he's so nice, but you're also not talking shit at him in person.
If you talk shit at him in person, he's going to talk right back.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, people can do whatever they want. I just feel like a lot of people haven't earned the right to talk shit, The ones that can do it and back it up, good for them. The ones that can't, shouldn't. My way of promoting my fights is I talk shit about myself. That's one of my favorite things to do. I like to talk about how fat I am or how bad I suck at jujitsu, and I'm the whole time I'm training my fucking ass off.
Yeah,
I enjoy that. I enjoy making jokes about it's funnier to me to tell make jokes about having a small dick than brag about having a big dick. What nobody cares, but it's funny if you can make fun of yourself and make other people laugh, right? So it's like if you can't make fun of yourself and you take everything so seriously, what's the point, You
got to have fun.
What's that?
You got to have fun.
A
lot of people take themselves too seriously.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some matches out there. I can't stand Dylan. I hate him, I truly hate the guy. If, he got his dick cut off in a blender tomorrow, I wouldn't fucking care. I wouldn't even feel bad for him. I think he's a huge piece of shit. And, he talked all that shit during ADCC, and I was silent about it until he pulled out the day before the event. And then I was like, you know what? You talked all that shit and you didn't back it up. So, now we're going to get you. And Gordon fucking unleashed on him, but, I think someone like him is not earned the right at all to open his fucking mouth,
Yeah.
And he just out there running his mouth all the time. And, eventually it's going to catch up to him. Eventually he's going to have a real MMA fight against a real opponent, and he's going to run his mouth and talk a bunch of shit. I mean, look what happened with Khabib.
Yeah. Well, you know what's
we fucking went after him. That's what a real fighter does. He's not a real fighter. He's a fucking pretty rich kid from fucking New York. Fuck that guy. And so, I mean, just I just think if you're gonna talk shit, you better be able to back it up.
For sure. What's funny? Haim Ghazali is pushing for a fight against him.
Yeah.
I hope that happens.
I don't know, man. Haim's 45 years old.
Yeah, but Haim's a fucking gamer.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think Dylan probably wins that fight pretty easily if he gets it to the ground. Dylan's ground game is fucking legit. The fight I'm talking about a real fight.
Yeah,
I'm talking about when you throw Dylan in there. At what weight is he? 185, 205?
I think he fights at 170.
Throw Neil in there. Throw him against a Neil Magny.
Yeah,
a top 10 guy, and see what the fuck happens. Because he's calling out major names, and it's bitch, you've beaten local fighters. You know what I mean? But I'm also not a big MMA fan. I'd much rather watch pro wrestling than MMA. So
So, speaking about that, why do you like pro wrestling? What do you like about it?
The production. WWE's the kings of production. That's what I do for a living. And since 19, I just, when I was a kid, I was a Junkyard Dog fan. And then as I got older, I was a huge fan of The Rock, and I didn't really watch it too much. And Troy was really into it and would really talk about wrestling all the time. And Joel's into it. But my son, my 11-year-old, is super into it. So it's like Monday night, like Raw is like a thing in my house. Like we all, like everybody comes down and we all follow the storylines and stuff like that. And it's like, if you can get past in your head that it's scripted, because it's not fake. I don't care that shit has to hurt. And some of the stuff they do, like what Rey Mysterio does, and like some of these guys are insane athletes, and I respect the art of it. And I love the production and I love how they sell it. And Vince McMahon is fucking incredible, and I love their product. I think it's fantastic.
What do you think? So I feel like Fight to Win is the closest thing that we have in jiu-jitsu to a WWE or a UFC type of setting, because you have the catwalk, you have the.
Well, I'd like to think more of a WWE and Bellator is kind of my goal. That's my vision, is like WWE, Bellator, Pride. But I mean, I can't kid myself. I'm so far away from that. Those are billion-dollar companies, owned by billion-dollar companies, I should really say, like it's still just me. So it's like,
what changes do you think need to happen to make it more like that? Like,
I mean, it's just one piece at a time.
Gotcha.
One piece of equipment at a time. And we've been doing it for years, just adding, improving, getting better equipment. The new idea I have is a game changer. And if that works, it changes everything. So
I'm excited, man. When are you going to be unleashing that new idea?
I got to find the first thing I need to do is figure out if my idea is actually doable, or if it's just something I came up after I ate too many edibles. And I need to find out the real world application of my idea. And then once I figure that out, I got to figure out how much it costs to do it, and then be able to implement it. It's some fucking high tech shit I'm trying to pull off. So it's like, there's just a lot to it, because a lot of I just started putting it on paper because a lot of it's in my head. So, and a lot of times I think of stuff and it's not actually doable, it's just, it doesn't, like, there's things out there I've wanted to do. Like I wanted to create certain things, and people, are like, oh, that's, artificial intelligence. Or it's like, I'm like, cool. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. And they're like, well, that's going to cost millions of dollars. I'm like, all right, well, go fuck yourself. So it's like, sometimes I come up with shit like that and it's just not doable. So it's like, I'm just like, right now, I have the time to figure shit out. So, I'm hoping to have an idea of everything by the end of next week. Because we've been working the whole time. I took I've taken a few days off here and there, just to eat fucking drugs and watch 90 Day Fiance. But, for the most part, we've been working the entire time. And a lot of the work we've been doing here has been really frustrating, because it's like writing down ideas, because everybody's living with me. So it's like Missy's here, Joel's here, Ed's here, all my kids are here. Brittany comes over all the time. So we're all still in contact, and it's like every day is like a storyboard,
I'm not going to lie, I'm jealous.
What's that?
I'm not going to lie, I'm quite jealous.
Yeah, we were training a lot. And then we had a coronavirus scare. So we had to close down the house and not let anybody in for 2 weeks. And then now we just Dykeman was training with us, and Savage was training with us a little bit. And John Combs came a couple times, and Don Westman. So, I mean, we've had some fucking legit people come through the house. Drew Dober trains with us sometimes. So the training's been good. Combs fucked my neck up being John Combs. But other than that, we've been lifting like every single day. Most of it, we stayed in pretty good shape. Like, now I could probably fight in 2 weeks, I could be ready, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people out there like me right now. Like, yeah, our cardio might not be there, but we've been lifting, we've been training, we've been doing shit, we've been doing something. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel like most people are going to need about 30 days once they can get back to training to be able to start fighting again.
I can tell you, man, I've been working out as much as I can. So
yeah, just do what you can.
We got a question from Chris Roberson. I think it's a good one. So he's asking, are you and the Third Coast Grappling guy really good now?
I don't really focus on what other people are doing. You know, Ryan has had some problems with me, and I've had some problems with him, and he's had some problems with other people that I work with. But for the most part, like, the dude's pretty fucking genuine. You know what I mean? So it's like he's made a lot of bad decisions. But from what I know, he's paid everyone everything he's ever said he was going to. But I don't fight for him, so it doesn't really matter what my opinion is. But you know, personally, like he's a pretty nice guy. Like I don't really have a problem with him. I don't really have a problem with anybody. I don't really care. You know, right? Especially right now. You know, I don't really give a shit about anybody's problems or have issues with anyone. I kind of want everybody to make it. You know, kind of like I kind of feel like it's one of those like, you know, all for one situations right now. You know, like if Ryan can make it out of it, if I can make it out of it, if Kasai can make it out of it, it's better for everybody. So, you know, I'm pulling for him, and I'm sure he's pulling for me to make it out of it too. You know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like it's one of those situations where it's, you know, the world versus the coronavirus. At least I hope so.
I hope so. You know, I hope. You know, one of the things I said this in the last podcast I was on too is like we've had like almost 30 days of a world ceasefire for the most part. You know, and it's like, does it really take this many people getting sick to just like be able to stop war? Like, can't we just like stop fucking fighting? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, if we can do it for this, we can do it for anything. But I think that you boil that down even more to just like social media stuff. And it's like, what's the point of having beef with people over bullshit? You know,
For sure.
like, we're all fucking going poor right now, right? Everyone's going broke. Everybody's struggling. Everyone's depressed. Everyone's getting fat. So it's like, the end of the day, you know, it's just kind of like you look at all the petty bullshit, and it's just like none of it is worth anybody's time. It's not worth time to be petty or jealous or, you know, just there's no time for it, and it's just not necessary. And it's definitely something that I'm not trying to be like that anymore. You know, like, you know, I kicked off Instagram for talking shit, and you know, it's been nice, to be honest with you, because I was getting depressed anyways, because I was getting messages every day. When's the next show? Hey, give me a fight. And it's like, motherfucker, like, I don't know. I I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, you know? So it's just like I'm kind of like right now, I'm like, I'm not out there trying to make buddies or friends with people. Like I give a fuck, you know? Like I got enough friends in my life, but you know, I don't really see the need to have arguments and beef with people anymore.
That's fair, man. That's a fair answer. Now, one thing that that came up a couple of times as you were talking earlier, what do you think of the attempt to clean up jiu-jitsu from steroids? What do you think about that? What do you think about steroid use in the sport?
I love steroids. I mean, I take testosterone, and I take, what do I take? I take anastrozole, I take testosterone, I take HCG, and I take growth. And if I wasn't taking that stuff, I mean, I'm obviously not an elite athlete, right? I'm not stupid, but I was at one point when I was 18, 19 years old. Like I almost made the Olympic team. I lived at the Olympic Training Center, and I abided by the rules when I was 18, 19 years old. I didn't take steroids. I didn't take anything. And, you know, now I'm 40, almost 40, and I've got my testosterone counts like 132. And so, yeah, I love being on TRT, and I love taking that shit. Like it makes you feel like a completely different person. You recover faster. You're stronger. You can fucking train longer. It's fucking awesome. Do I think that 22-year-old kids need to be fucking taking steroids? No, I don't. I don't think it's necessary. I think growth hormone for sure should be legal for everybody. Anything you can take to help with recovery in my opinion, people should do. When it comes to anabolics and stuff like that, I'm really not educated on it because I've never really taken them to know like really how bad this stuff is for you. But I've said this before too. I don't think if you're under a doctor's care and you're taking, legit American made high level products prescribed or given you by a PA, that's way safer than going and guessing and buying a bunch of supplements at GNC. And it costs the same amount of money. So no, I don't think it's necessary at all to clean up the sport when it comes to that. But I think that just like the lockdown is, people should do what they believe in. And, if they believe that it makes them better and stronger and, whatever, do it. Who cares? This is supposed to be a sport where technique conquers everything, So if you're competing in IBJJF and the rule is you can't take this stuff, then you shouldn't take it. If you're competing at Fight to Win and there's no rule against it, take whatever you want, So it's like you got to go by the rules of whatever the rules are set. And then after that, it's personal choice.
I hear you. I guess my counter argument to that, and honestly, I don't have a very well-developed opinion on it because like you, I'm not particularly well educated on it. And I don't even, I'm in my early 30s, so I don't have any of the issues with low T yet. But I do think that if not taking it sets somebody at a disadvantage, that may not be fair. I don't know.
I saw Lachlan Giles submit Muhammad Ali, Patrick Gaudio, and Kaynan Duarte. That's a counter argument.
Okay. Mic drop.
Fucking technique conquered. I'm not saying I don't know if those guys were on anything. None of them. I mean, Kaynan failed at IBJJF, so I mean, I guess it's a pretty good guess that he was on something for ADCC. But Lachlan definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
So I doubt Marcelo Garcia ever took steroids. So I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that win all the time that like don't look like they ever took anything in their life. And then there's guys that, like I've said this before too. It's like I'm 220 pounds. I can bench press probably like 350. And if I fought Mikey Musumeci, do you think it matters that I take testosterone? He's going to kill you. It doesn't matter. When you get to the level of the Gordon Ryans and the cyborgs and all that, yeah, maybe it does make a difference. But then also look at the age group. You got a 22-year-old kid in Gordon and a 40-year-old in Cyborg. How's that fair?
For sure.
Like the body, your testosterone naturally depletes. And I'm not saying I know that Cyborg's taking anything. The only thing I know that Cyborg takes is fighter's choice. I'm just saying, if I'm in that situation, like my body is not producing the same amount of chemicals as my competitors. Why is that not fair for me to get TRT or growth to be able to recover and be able to be at the same level as these 22-year-old kids? Like, okay. To me, that's how I look at it, But I definitely don't think, teenagers should be taking it. I don't think, I like I said, I don't know about the anabolic stuff because I've never done it. I don't know what it does to your mind, and I don't really know what it does to your body. I can only really speak for TRT because that's the only thing that I really take. And I believe in that shit, like through and through.
Yeah, it's interesting. My coach, Sean Dougherty, who you've had referee for you, and
you've been, what did he get me with? Is it an ankle lock?
Probably some sort of an ankle lock.
No, it was brutal though. It was like, I think it was an ankle lock. I think it was an ankle lock. He did something and it like completely destroyed my leg.
Yeah, you do like the rear naked choke grip on it?
I don't remember. I just remember it hurt really bad.
That's Sean.
He showed me and I like acted like I was paying attention because I didn't want to cry. But no, he's good. That guy's good. He's legit.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite people. He always preaches the value of TRT for him.
Yeah, but it's a personal thing, It's just a personal.
Do you think it should be legal in MMA?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. That's a consistent view then. I mean, some people, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, it should be legal in jiu-jitsu, but not in MMA because MMA guys are hitting each other.
Again, like I said, like if everything's going to be at an even keel and there's rules and everybody has to follow the rules. So if your testosterone level can't be above 1500 and a 19-year-old kid is fighting in the UFC and naturally has 1500 testosterone, he's fighting a 37-year-old guy that has fucking a 46 count. Why can't he take to be the same level? You just got to abide by the rules, whatever the rules are, you know? Just don't try, because you're not cheating if you're going by the rules. You know, I'm not a fan of cheating. I'm just a fan of like doing what's best for your body, but you got to make sure you abide by what the rules are for the organization.
I guess, I mean, one thing I've always to some degree believed is that if at times you're not cheating, you're not really trying, or you know,
I don't believe in that, but I also, like I said, I don't think that taking stuff you need is cheating.
Right.
And I don't think if there's rules, then you're not cheating at all. There's no rules at Fight2Win. There's no rules at, like, you know, a lot of sports, there's no rules. You know, you're telling me that all these NBA basketball players are just naturally 6'9" and 280 pounds with 4% body fat? Get the fuck out of here. Like, you're crazy if you don't think your favorite basketball player hasn't been on growth hormone. Like, that's not even realistic. To think that LeBron James has been able to run the way he's been able to play his career without taking anything, like, get the fuck out of here, man. It's just not possible, you know? And so, I mean, like, they go by whatever the rules are. And that's why they don't get suspended, because there's no rules, you know?
It is amazing to see, you know, LeBron James, way he's able to run back and forth on that fucking court every night.
I don't mean just running. I just mean like playing, you know, just like running the game. But I mean, like, even if you look at, you know, fucking, I mean, it's just like, to me, it just like, shit just doesn't matter, dude. Like, like I think everybody should take what's best for them. You know,
I would agree with that. I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, because on the one hand, I think that you're right. If it's not against the rules, it's not cheating. On the other hand, I think that
you think that anybody that is, say a guy is juiced up like Nicky Rod, right? You fight Nicky Rod, you're telling me you don't think you could heel hook him?
Because, I mean, maybe if I can catch him, but
if you personally got a heel hook set on Nicky Rod, which I'm not saying you could do because it's nearly impossible, even though Kynan did it. Like, right. He's almost impossible to submit. I think Kynan's the only person who's ever submitted him. And but if you got one sunk in,
okay, it'd be done.
So what does it matter how big he is? Who cares?
It doesn't. But on the other side of things, there's a reason he's taking it. There's a reason Gordon Ryan takes what he takes. There's a reason Kynan takes what he takes. And just based off of that reason, I think that if somebody Gordon
won the Nogi World Championships, he won double gold 2 years ago, took the test, passed the test. He followed the rules, and he won.
Okay. But, okay, Kynan.
Right.
Kynan popped dirty, right? Like, there's no question that he did.
Right.
I think that anyone that went against him, who decided their health was more important than being able to perform at a higher level, was at a marked disadvantage.
Well, they were already at a disadvantage anyways, because they were fighting Kynan. And then the only argument you can make is that at the very top of it, Keenan versus Marigali, right? Two of the top guys in the world competing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them wins. This is a bad example. But if Marigali wins and then is positive for steroids and wins by a referee's decision, but pops for steroids, which I'm not saying he takes them either, that would be like saying, okay, he won because he had an advantage. But look at who did Kynan beat in the finals. Pretty sure it was Leandro Lowe, right?
I think so.
Okay. So, I mean, one of the things I also believe is that if you're going to test, like IBJJF, they need to test every single person that competes in the tournament.
I'd agree.
So how is Leandro Lo the champion if he wasn't also tested?
I'd agree with that.
I think at least 75% of athletes at that level are taking something.
For sure.
So I'm just more open about it. But I'm also not an elite athlete, so it doesn't really care. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but you run an organization that hosts elite athletes and that has elite athletes.
Nicky Rod fought fucking Victor Hugo, and Victor Hugo beat him.
True. That's Victor Hugo.
That's what I'm saying. The skill outweighed the strength and the athleticism. Yeah. And also, I don't know if Nicky Rod takes anything. I've never seen a steroid test result from him. I'm just assuming based on the way he looks, Yeah. And I think a lot of us do that. We make a lot of assumptions about people. It's easy to assume that JT Torres takes steroids, or that Andre does, or that Tanquinho, or anybody that has a fucking 8-pack stomach. Like, that's just where we go because we don't look like that. So they must be cheating, right? That's like what jiu-jitsu people do. They don't even look for the results. So they got to be a cheater. They train autos. They must take something. Like, they got fucking 1,000 students over there. I'm pretty sure 1,000 of them are on steroids. You know what I mean? So I think we got to quit assuming. And if they're going to test, everybody needs to get tested, or nobody should be tested.
I think I'd agree with that. That's a reasonable way to look at it, because that way, if somebody pops and that took gold, they don't give it to somebody who popped at silver, who would have popped at silver.
At the Olympics, everybody gets tested. Everybody. Not just top 4, everybody.
Do you think that jiu-jitsu should be in the Olympics?
No. It's too similar to wrestling and judo, and wrestling and judo are practiced in way more countries and have more people doing it worldwide. And the Olympics is about having the best representatives from each country. And it's hard when, the top 3 guys in a division are all from the same country, So it's like, yeah, they're all Brazilian. They all live in the United States, right? So, so what are they really? You know what I mean? Are they United, they citizen, or they fight for USA, they fight for Brazil. That's one of the things that always drives me crazy when people are like rep their flag, but they've lived here for 20 years. So, I personally don't think that it should be in the Olympics yet. It's not there. But I think it would be cool someday, to see it in there. But I don't think there's enough representation. If it was going to happen, it would have happened in 2016.
Do you think that there's a definitive rule set that should be that you choose as representative of the sport? Should it go to the Olympics at some point?
IBJJF rule set with heel hooks.
So it'd be a no-gi tournament, or would it be in the gi?
Either way, doesn't matter. Everything should be legal. Everything should be legal. Like, there should be no illegal techniques. I actually don't even know the IBJJF rule set. I just think it would have to be something that had points, because there's less judge's decision involved when it comes to points. So that's pretty much where, the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I hear you. I guess one of the things I've always kind of struggled with is the idea of heel hooks in the gi, why they're not allowed, why,
I know. I can tell you why I don't allow them.
Why don't you allow them? I
don't allow heel hooks in the gi because if I did that, 70% of my gi competitors wouldn't do it. Because the guys that train IBJJF, like that are real, gi competitors, they don't fucking play heel hooks. They don't train them. So why would I want to lose a bunch of top athletes just because of that technique? You know what I mean? And if you slap a heel hook on somebody with a gi, the chances of you getting injured in the gi is way higher than no gi when it comes to the heel hook because of the way you spin to get out. Like, you're stuck, Why do you think Eddie Bravo wore fucking gi pants? You wear pants for tractions. That's why you wear them, So, that's why I don't do it. It's an injury thing, and because it's so much harder to get out of stuff with the gi, and I'd lose too many athletes.
Do you think that speaking of Eddie Bravo, do you think you'll ever do anything as far as like a combat jiu-jitsu or EBI style rule set or anything like that on your stage, or are you going to stick with the 3 judges?
I do EBI rule set with the Subversive event. We did that 5-on-5 team tournament we do twice a year. We use the EBI rules for that. And then I'm not into the combat jiu-jitsu thing. I'm not into it. No, I'm not. I mean, I love Eddie to death. I think it's dumb. I think if you want to do jiu-jitsu with strikes, just do MMA. Like I don't see the point of it. I think it's cool to watch. Don't get me wrong. I think it's cool. I like anything Eddie does is cool to me. Like I love that dude. And like all of his schools are cool. I love the guys that train there. We cross train with 10th Planet all the time. And when I was in San Diego like a couple months ago, I went and trained at Boogie's, and I love the people. Like it to me, like outside of my own gym, I feel most comfortable at a 10th Planet school. But like I don't know. I'm just not into it. It's just not my thing, you know. Plus, he made it up. It's his thing. I'm not really somebody that rips other people's stuff off. I used his rule set in the Subversive because that's what my partner wanted to do. So I was like, all right, I'm open to anything. I did IBJJF points with the Who's Number One show. I do judo rules, and I made up my rules for that. So I mean, I don't really. The rules are. I'm always pretty fluid with rules. I'm not a fan of points because I think people coast too much, and they're boring, you know. So I feel like when you're fighting with points, generally it's just more boring, you know. So it's just not my thing.
That's fair. We got another question from Dan Silver that I think is pretty good. He's asking, how often does Seth look at his Fight2Win refs, judges' decisions and think, what the fuck?
Twice a show, I would say. I changed the rules recently, and I don't think you fought since I changed the rules.
Oh.
Well, I didn't change the rules. I added a point system. So it's real simple. It's 5 points for an almost finish and 1 point for an attack, like a real attack, though, not like bullshit. And so that doesn't show up on the scoreboard, but it's just a way for the referees to keep track of stuff, you know. And then if it's really close at the end, then it goes to aggression. Who is attacking more? But yeah, ever since I implemented that, I'd say 90% of the decisions, 95% of the decisions that go, the right person wins. You know, sometimes a flag goes to the wrong side, in my opinion, but the right person wins like 95% of the time, in my opinion. But then again, like if you look at the AJ versus Ari match, I got a lot of shit for that, for giving it to AJ, you know, and judges, you know, look at different things, and I was looking at aggression. I felt like they had an equal amount of submission attempts, and I felt like AJ was being the aggressor, so I give it to AJ. You know, Ari was scooting. He was butt scooting to the edge of the mat, and he kept bailing out to the edge. And I said to myself in my head, there's 2 minutes left, and I was like, I had no idea who I was going to give it to. No, there was not even that. It was 30 seconds left in the match. I had no idea who I was going to give it to. And Ari ends up on the edge of the mat and just lays on his back and is just like kind of not even attacking, just recovering guard. And AJ was like doing everything he could to pass. And I was like, that's it. Like, that's how I made my decision, you know, because it's hard to count when you're out there. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, at least once or twice a show, I'm just like, fuck are they watching? But then at the same time, they have a different vantage point. They see it differently than I do because they have different angles, you know, especially the head referee. You know, I got a lot of shit in that Ari AJ match because people were like, he heeled him the whole time. I was like, he wasn't even on his heel. He was, but he was underneath. He was on the meat of his foot. AJ was never in trouble.
Yeah.
So, okay, did he have a heel hook? No. He was holding the heel in the heel hook position, but he was not attacking. And you couldn't see that unless you were on top of it because we don't have a jib. We don't have a moving camera that like sits on top. So like you literally I had to see that personally to know that those weren't legit attacks. And so sometimes a referee has a totally different vantage point.
That's interesting. So sometimes you think that the decision for the referees that are on the judges that are on the side versus the referee that's on the
my judges should always have the same decision, in my opinion. Like the side judges should never be different. it's the middle judge that sometimes should be different.
Now, one thing I've seen happen a couple of times, I think 3 times off the top of my head, is where it's a kind of a boring match where you have one player that has the other player in their closed guard the entire time. And then very often the player on top wins. And it's kind of odd to me just because the fact that the chances of submitting somebody, if I have you in my closed guard versus, you're in my closed guard, you're not as likely to submit me if you're in my closed guard versus I have you in my closed guard.
Yeah, it's just about aggression. If you're in guard and you're just trying to sweep me, or Ronaldo Jr. and Jake Watson recently had a match that was kind of like that.
Okay.
And Jake was more aggressive, and Jake was on top. Ronaldo was on. No, I don't remember. Either way, Jake was being more aggressive in the fact that he was engaging. He was trying to make something happen. So if I'm on top and I'm in your guard, like, I'm not even going to try to pass your guard. I'm just going to pick you up and slam you a whole bunch, and I'll win. From slams. So you have to attack me. You have to try to finish me. And if you don't try to finish me, then I'm going to win because I'm being the aggressor. But if I'm on top doing nothing and you're trying to do stuff, you're going to win. It's just, it really is the competitor's job to win the matches. It's not the referee's job to make, to decide, like, if you put your match in the hands of the judges to a point where you did nothing, then, like, you kind of deserve to lose either way.
I'd agree with that. I think that it's always. I
think the matches you're talking about is more of where I say, like, it's better. You have to fight to win, not fight to not lose. And I feel like a lot of the matches you're talking about are those type of matches where they're just like refuse to open up. I have a rule in my mind. When I'm out there, I give myself 3 minutes to do something epic on my feet. I have 3 minutes to foot sweep somebody or throw somebody really hard. After 3 minutes, I'm just going to sit down, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah,
I don't care. But I've only had one boring match, and I've had like 18 or 17 matches on the show. I've had one match that was terrible, and it was a judo match, and it was because I hadn't done judo in 20 years. And I wasn't ready. I was completely out of shape. And I was just like, I did terrible. But other than that, like, I would rather lose by submission than win by decision.
Have you ever lost by a decision that in your head you were like, I shouldn't have lost that?
I've lost 4 matches on the show. I lost to Brian Marvin, choking my head off with a Bravo choke. Alex Morano guillotined me. Robert Hendrickson, I lost to him with a split decision. And the only thing I thought was wrong about that decision is it should have been unanimous for him. And then I lost to that little guy in Atlanta, that black belt, when I was a brown belt. He beat the shit out of me.
Diego Saraiva?
Yeah. So I mean, like, all of my matches, I've only won. I won by one decision, and I've lost by one decision. Like, all the rest of my matches were submission. So it's like Ricky Bobby style, either first or last.
But the decisions that you either won or lost, you feel were on point.
Yeah. The first one I won, I definitely won because I murdered the guy. I just couldn't finish him. But I had like 5 major submission attempts. I just couldn't finish him. And then, because I was out of shape. And Robert, like, we had a really good match. I just, like, I took it on short notice, and I was like in Disney. It was in Cleveland, and I was at Disney World the week before. Yeah, I was at Disney World or Disneyland the week before, and I wasn't training at all, and like, I don't know, man. I thought he was gonna kill me, so I was like, fuck it, like, whatever. I don't care. He's way better than I am. And then, like, when I was out there, I was like, fuck, I can hang with this guy. But I didn't realize I could hang with him until like halfway through the match. And he dominated the first half of the match. It wasn't even close. The second half of the match was close, and the first half he killed me. So like when I went to the judges and one of them gave it to me, I was like if they would have given it to me, I would have been like, no. I would have just been and raised his hand. Like, no, I didn't win.
Do you have to feel like you're better than the other guy to win? Like, do you ever go into a match and like think you're gonna get your ass kicked and then still somehow win?
I'm pretty confident I'm gonna win every match that I do. I don't get nervous. I don't get anxious. I've had 1,000 matches between judo, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu at least. I'm So I always think I'm gonna win, but I'm not stupid. Like with Brian Marvin, I knew if he got the Bravo, I was gonna lose. I knew it. And the second he got it, I was like, fuck. I was like, that's it. I'm done. And I trained for it and I couldn't get out of it. And it happened. Robert, I was intimidated to go against because he's fought on my show and he's really good. And he's a Lucas Lepre black belt. And I just got my black belt like a couple months before. It was kind of in my head. And that was one that I beat myself before I even went out there. But for the most part, I usually think I'm going to win. No, I lost one more too. I lost to Melvin. This guy named Melvin Scott. He got me with a head and arm choke in Tulsa. So I've lost 5.
Gotcha. Well, we are at the hour 20 mark. If anybody who's watching and has any further questions for Seth, I don't want to take up too much more of his evening. I really appreciate him coming on.
It's all good, man. I have shit to do.
Here's my thing, man.
Missy cooked some cheese enchiladas and some chicken enchiladas. That's the best part about it. Like, we've been eating like kings. Because like normally, like, dude, I'm a fucking salt and pepper is my seasoning. And Missy's out there like fucking making restaurant quality meals, so that's been dope. I love having her up here, it's like, have my best friend up here, it's like, it's just been fun. Like, we've had a good time. It's just watching the bank account go empty. That's the hard part. But like, we've had a really good time for the past, I'm like definitely not sitting here like depressed, like we've had a great time. It's just, I've slept enough. Like, I'm ready to fucking work. I'm ready to get back into the game.
Yeah, with these interviews, with the things I've been doing here, I'm trying to put some positivity, because I know that there's people
negative for you. I know I tend to do that. I tend to talk a lot of negative real life situation stuff, but
well, I think we kept it pretty positive today.
Well, I apologize if I did. Actually, I don't care. It's just how I am. Deal with it.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about tonight? Anything else that you wanted to put out there for people?
No, man, I'm good. I mean, I think the most part for people is like whatever the guidelines come out to in your city, in your state, just abide by them. If they tell you, you can only have 10 people at your school and you're running a school, adapt, figure it out. Run more classes, run shorter classes, get grappling dummies, load up on hand sanitizer. Get yourself thermometers. If the teachers, instructors, employees have to wear masks, do the stuff. Don't not do what they tell you to do. Because I think a lot of people aren't thinking about the back end of things of what happens if someone actually gets ill in my school, So I just think everybody needs to abide by what the government is telling them to do and make the most of it, because that's what life is now.
Yeah, definitely. Here we go. I got another one from Silvert. Silvert's the one asking questions today. You guys have one of the biggest guys in the sport on the page, and nobody's really asking too many questions. If you lock Team No Sleep in a 30 by 30 foot room, and there's a no holds barred fight to the death, who's the last person standing?
Missy. Just stab everybody. Yeah, like no doubt, Missy would kill everybody. It wouldn't even be close. It would be Missy if she had a weapon. If there was no weapons allowed, man,
Dykeman
isn't working with us anymore. If Dykeman was still working with us, then Dykeman. But I would probably say Ed. It'd be tough because I don't know if Dom has hands. But Ed can fucking fight. So, like, if Dan was still with us, like, there's nobody I would put against Dan. Like, Dan, like, I'd put Dan against any black belt in the world in a fucking cage. Like, that dude's nuts. Like, he's awesome. But when it comes to, like, actually, like, us fighting, Ed would probably be the guy I think would win.
Which one's Ed?
He's a newer guy, purple belt. But he's had, like, 28 amateur MMA fights or something. Like, he's legit. Yeah, like he hasn't fought in 3 years because he broke his neck, but he's got he's got hands for days. But if Dom Hoskins has hands, which I don't know if he does, because I don't know if he's fought, that would be a tough one too.
Yeah, for sure.
It wouldn't be me. I'd probably be the first one to die. I'd just be like, I'd die of claustrophobia. So I would just have an anxiety attack and die. So yeah, it wouldn't be me. Plus I can't throw punches and I can't fight. So there's that too.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Seth. And I look forward to the next time I get to compete on one of your cards, man.
Yeah, I'll contact you and let you know what the plan is. Hopefully I have one next week and we start getting back in the game.
Fuck yeah, bro.
All right, man. Take care of yourself.
Have a good night.
All right, bye.